Okay, we're back for video 3 in the AppFabric series 1.1, specifically the caching regions and functionality. I'm going to start with the administration, show you kind of where we are with things and what that initial install did. First, it makes sense to show you that shared folder we had created for the cache sharing. And if you'll remember, it was in the development folder, AppFabric cache shared config. You'll notice now there's a XML file there called cluster config. We'll go ahead and open it, kind of show you a before and after. And if we open it up, you'll see that standard XML stuff, and that's why I said you don't necessarily have to print the screen. Reason is that you can pull everything you need from here. Things worth noting here is this is the account it's running under, the service. It's running under the Americas account tied to this machine, and that's actually it's the machine account in the domain. That's why you see the $sign after the machine name. And then the cache host, it's AppFabric caching service. The name of the computer and the port. And you'll notice the other ports are listed up here, but this one right here is interesting, lead host. And what that means is, let's say you had more than one. We had 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever. Because AppFabric can be set up in such a way that, let's say we have 5 or 10 applications that we want to use caching. We can do that in AppFabric, and we do that by creating regions and creating different caches. So we could create a cache name, for instance, right bed. And then within right bed, let's say, as our demo is going to focus on, we had countries, states, things like that. Within the right bed cache, you could create a region such as states, and then you could make calls to those regions and say, look, give me all the objects from the states region, and that will essentially give you a list of all states. Certainly there would be more criteria to it than that, but that gives you the idea of kind of how AppFabric backend storage, and it's in memory, I shouldn't say backend too much, how the storage is happening. You've got the cluster, which is the outside tier, and then right underneath that you've got the individual machines, but those individual machines contain caches, each one of them named. For instance, you could have right bed, patient access, eCare, all of those. So they're all named, and then within those names, available but not required are regions, and within those regions you can put individual cache items. Now you've got to have a key and an object so that you can pull it out and do other things with it later, but we'll get into that in the coding. But I just wanted you to understand from a very high level of what's going on here. And you'll notice that we don't have any caches. That's not a surprise, right? We haven't set one up yet, and I said that it didn't do near as much as you and I both would have thought it would. So I'm just going to leave this here in Internet Explorer, and I'm going to go over here and we're going to go get into the administration of it. You'll see we've got AppFabric for Windows Server. We're going to expand that, and I'm going to right click on the caching administration windows. So we're going to right click and run it as an administrator, and the reason I say that is it doesn't do it by default all the time, and there are some commands that it will absolutely freak out if you try to run in anything other than a administrator command in there. So this is typical PowerShell, and I'm working on a list of commands. I'll send you a website, or I'll show you a website that contains the commands. But the first thing we want to put in here is just to show you what's going on is get cache statistics, and what this is going to do, well, there is no cache, so I can't give it to you, but let's see if there's a default, and you're going to see there's nothing in here. There's no cache named default. Okay, so there really isn't anything here. So the first task would be to, and this is what one of the things I don't like, is when we come in here, the cache cluster, even though Windows is running, the cache cluster isn't. I don't want to confuse you. Just understand, though it's not completely accurate to say it's a service, it's not running. So I'm going to go in here and we're going to go ahead and start it. and if they were associated with each other on multiple machines, we could do that. And if I get my lab there at Dell, I will certainly show you how to do that. But I'm going to go in here and start the cache cluster. And you'll see it come up and it says, look, here's the hosts. If we had 3 or 4 or 5 computers, we'd have more than one coming up. There's an accompanying command. Here would be all the computers listed, and we saw here that this name down here, WinX, we can come down here and you can find it within the config file that it's actually here. So this computer is running and it's up. Not magic. Okay, sorry about that. I got called away. You know, when the boss calls, you got to answer. Everyone out there knows what I mean. Okay, so what have we done? Nothing magic. We ran PowerShell. I showed you XML file here. So now what do we need? Well, it would make sense. I told you that in the hierarchy of this thing, we need a cache, right? So we're going to go in here and we're going to create a cache. So creating a cache is not hard at all. All you have to do is run a little commandlet here. We're going to say, look, oops, I'm sorry, I'm off the screen. There we go. We're going to say new cache, and we're going to go in here and we've got to tell it when we create a new cache the name of the cache name, and then give it a cache name, which, because I already know I need this for the demo project we're going to get into, I'm going to name the cache AppFabric demo, and then the next parameter it wants is something called secondaries. And why they complicated it like this, I really don't know, but what secondaries is a Boolean flag that says, look, is high availability enabled or not? Well, I told you that in order to enable high availability, we had to have Enterprise or above and a couple of 2-3 servers, and we don't yet. And then we're going to go out and put in here a third one, and it's called time to live. And what this does is it tells it in minutes how long does a cache live before we refresh it. The default is 10 minutes, right? And I'm just going to put it to 15 for no other reason than to show you something other than default. Okay, and so there we've created the cache. Now to prove that to you, we'll go here and we'll reload this page, and this is the XML share. And to show you we do have a cache, we just reloaded this XML file, and we can see in here now that we've got cache name AppFabric demo. And you'll see the time to live, whether or not it'll expire. It's in here now. Now we can go back and do something we did again, and we can go in here now, and we can, let's see if I can get it here, get cache statistics, and we're going to give it the name of the cache, AppFabric demo, and what it does, it pulls back, it says, look, how many objects are in it, how many hits have we had on it, and that's why there is a, and there has to be a GUI coming for this that'll hook into these, even if it's nothing but running scripts in the background for you. If they don't write one, may take it upon myself to write one. But anyway, that is how you can get the statistics, create a new cache. The last thing to do when you're doing a cache in AppFabric is, and I hate this, this is really stupid, but you have to go in there and you have to give specific users or machines or various other things access to this cache. Now, in production, let's think about what that would mean. In production, we would create some domain, and I don't mean a domain admin, but we would create a domain account that said your username is this or this or this, and when we put the website, say eCare or WriteBed, when it was running under IIS, we would say, look, your identity when you're running is this domain account, like WriteBed IIS user, right? And then so what we do is we come into the AppFabric system, and we would give that user access to the cache. Now this is this is one of the things in AppFabric's not quite. It's half baked. It's not quite fixed, and it's not in Couchbase either. Is cross-domain accounts, giving them access to the cluster on a different account. It's not supported right now, and why? I mean, I can see by watching the technology why. But I do know that they're road mapping it to get that squared away. But for us, it won't matter, right? Everything goes into, if you're on the HSD side, it goes on their network. If you're on the tenant side, it goes on the tenant network. I suppose you could add a machine to both and then use a machine account, which is always identifiable because of that $sign on it. But that's the way it is. So we're going to go in here and we are going to give me and my computer access to this, because we're going to be developing on this machine, and that's done under your account. And certainly if it's not done under your account, Cassini goes out and uses a machine account. So we're going to go in here and we're going to say, look, grant cache allowed client account, and we're going to go in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to give me access. And the way you do that is you go in here, and again, the clicking has got me in trouble, is I can't see my video settings. My apologies. There we go, to make sure we're actually recording. We're going to go in here and we're going to say, look, TAC account, and then if you're in a domain, you tell it which account, right? So we're going to go in here. We know our domain is America's, and it's me, and we're going to do that, and we're going to go ahead and hit enter, and it throws an error, says America's Dean.Bortel is not valid. So I'm going to go in here and let's see if it's case sensitive on the old domain here, and I'm going to go back. And I know what I did. I am back to my Perot days, right? Not Dean.Bortel, Dean_Bortel. And there we go. So I've given myself access. I've really got to get my stuff together, because at home everything's dot and at work everything's underscore. So got to give me a little bit of a break. So we've got that done. And now we're going to do it again, but what we're going to do a little bit different here, and it kind of cheats on itself, and it tells you, if you look here at your account that it's running as, that gives you a good idea of what other .NET services, whether it be Cassini or the new 7.5 Lite or different services in the development environment, what they're going to run as. So we're going to go ahead and kind of hedge our bets here, and we're going to say, look, we're going to go ahead and give the computer its own access. And so we're just going to go in here and say America's, and then we're going to put the computer name in here as WN7X64 TAC HB CCLM $1. Dead giveaway, it's a computer account. And so we're going to give that access. And so now the computer has access and we have access. That'll come into play later when we actually run the code. So as a quick wrap up here, that's all you have to do. You've got a cache set up now, and you say, Dean, you didn't add any regions. You talked about regions. We can do that programmatically. I could go in here and add regions if I wanted to, but I'm not going to, because your business objects, if they're integrating with a cache mechanism, should be smart enough to know what in the world they're doing and what environment they're living in. So I'm not going to do that here. We'll do it in code. I'll show you how to do it. Thanks a lot.